Sometimes you're doing better than you think. I was working with a financial planning client, and I'm going to change some details to make things anonymous, but they worked for a government agency, and they were doing fine with retirement and savings. They had a safety net built up, they had avoided debt, they were really tracking spending in a really diligent way. But they had a sense they were in a kind of survival mode. Their income was paying for the basics, but it wasn't clear that it could really get them where they wanted to go in terms of goals and the life they want to live. They wanted to take a pottery class, make sure to take vacations every year, take some time off from work to do some backpacking, a number of things that are not crazy by any means, but would have been difficult based on the current situation, or so they thought. And so we did the analysis, and one really important thing is to draw out like what would it cost to take some time off work and go backpacking? Like if you want to take a pottery class, how much does that cost, and for how many years would you want to do it? And once you put some numbers on these things, they become a bit more plausible. And we found that on the one hand, if nothing changed, those things would be difficult. It would be hard to pursue their retirement goals the way they wanted to while doing all these other things. But if their income went up by about 10%, all that became so much more doable. They could make progress in retirement on the pace they wanted to, maintain savings and a safety net without having to draw down from it, and do all these things, these traveling, classes, things like that, supporting family, to go to college. All these things became so much more possible if income were to increase by 10%. I don't mean to suggest that anybody can get a 10% raise just by asking for it. That's not an easy thing to do, but it's doable, right? It's not so beyond the pale, is it? And that's a nice thing when we realize that, yeah, if nothing changed, it would be tough to do what you want to do and live the life you want. But if some relatively small thing changed, which you could perhaps accomplish through a promotion, through a side business, through a different job that pays you more, then all this stuff comes right into focus and becomes much more plausible. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you'll work with a financial planning client and find that they have to make some big changes to get to the baseline level of financial security. But it's always nice when the other thing happens, which is that we find a person is doing better than they thought and has more agency and more control over their lives than they thought. And basically, the life they want is closer at hand than they might have imagined. That's always a nice thing.